Jenny, and today with PaintShop Pro I'm talking resolution. It might also be called help, nothing I print is the right size. PaintShop Pro isn't really a what you see is what you get program. You need to know a couple of little tricks to make sure that what you're seeing on your screen is what you're going to get if you try to print something. Now, I've been trying to make this video for a couple of days and it is a little bit complicated and I haven't known where to start. So first of all, I'm going to start with the really simple method. Many of you will be using free printables that you download off the internet for things like Project Life. So you're talking journal cards and title cards and such like. And you're wanting perhaps to print them, to put them into the physical album, into the pockets, or maybe you just want to print them and use them for whatever else. But you want them to be the size that it says they are when you download them. And mostly that's 3x4, 4x6 and such like. But what's happening is you're putting them onto an image and suddenly it's not that size at all, and you try to resize them and it's just getting all extremely messy. So let's see if we can try and sort that out. I've got a few images down here that I'm going to open. Let's start with this one. This is an image. It says at 200, and if you read what I've typed in there, it says that it's an A4 sized page. It's 200 pixels per inch. That's the default resolution that PaintShop Pro comes with when you install it. And it's 8.2 inches wide by 11.69 high. We're not bothered about the height for this. And I've put onto it a typical Project Life card. This is from Capture Life by Becky Higgins. Gosh, I'm getting my tongue in a mess today, aren't I? But anyway, it's a Project Life card from Becky Higgins. It's 6 inches wide. And you'd expect it, wouldn't you, on an 8.2 inches wide page to have some space around it. So why hasn't it? Why is it going all the way to the edge? It's all to do with resolution, and many, in fact the majority of digital downloads that you'll get are created at 300 pixels per inch. It's a sort of standard that digital designers use, and I've been using it for over 12, 15 years now. So if you put an image that's been created at 300 pixels per inch into a document that's only using 200 pixels per inch, it isn't going to be the same size. It's going to be bigger because the pixels get spread out. Now, I'm not going to go into a long explanation about resolution and pixels. It gets a bit technical, and if I'm honest, I probably don't really understand it myself. What I do understand is how to work it that I never make a mistake and get the wrong size. And so let me show you how we can do that. First of all, always make sure you've got your rulers on. And to do that, you need to go to View and check Rulers. If you're a keyboard shortcut person, you'll see here that there are keyboard shortcuts at the side of the menu items, and if you can remember them, you can use them. I'm not very good with them, so I tend to just use the menus. So we'll put our rulers on and then go to File, Preferences, General Program Preferences, check Units and put Display Units in inches. Now, if you prefer to work in centimetres at a later time, you can come back and change this here. But for now, work in inches because that's how I'm going to explain this method. And while you're here, change the default resolution from 200 to 300 pixels per inch. and that will make sure that when you create any new documents that you might be putting project life cards onto, for example, the resolution will match, and that will eliminate one of the errors for not getting the size that you expect. And click OK. So now we know that my measurements across the top here and down the left are in inches. And like I say, you can see this card is in no way a 4x6 card, and yet the original is. Here's a page. This is the 300 pixels page. They're both at a view of 24% here, and you can see there is a difference in size. But here's that same 4x6 project life card, and as expected, you've got the space at the sides that you would expect to see if it goes onto an 8-inch page. So that's your first step. Put your rulers on, change them to the measurement that you like. If you prefer centimetres, that's fine, but I always tend to work in inches. And change your resolution, your default resolution, to 300 pixels per inch, so that any new document you make to drag cards into, like this, will match the resolution, and you'll get the proper size that you want. Okay, so that's your first step. Now, let's talk about printing things out. I'll click yes to that. Let's just close that out of the way. Here's another example. Now, this is a page, again, it's been created. It's 300 pixels per inch. I'm viewing it at 24% so we can see it on the screen here. And I've added some random project life cards from the Capture Life Becky Higgins kit. And this is probably what you might do. You might open an A4 page, because it is one of the presets. If you go to File and New and click Paper, A4 is one of the presets there, and you may choose that and put all your cards on that you want to print, so you can put, print more than one on a piece of paper. And you may do this. You'll perhaps rotate them and put them so that they fit, and you'll say, hey, that's great, I can print that. And indeed you can. However, let me show you another trick, because you're going to run into a little bit of a problem in this one where it's white on white, or almost white on white. You're not going to be able to see where to cut your edges. It's all right on these brown ones because you can follow the actual square, but what about when it's white on white? Let me open from my opening thing here. I'm just going to pull in the same images, like so. Right, so just opened all those, and I want to go to File, Print Layout. Put the grid on by clicking the grid icon. I think you can set the options for the grid under View and Options, and I've got my spacing at 0.25. I think it's an inch, so it's 0.25 of an inch. Or, well, I just liked that sort of spacing, and we can click OK. Yes, it is in inches. If I read things properly, I'd know what I was talking about, wouldn't I? As you can see, there is still a border, because unless you've got borderless printing with your printer, you're not going to be able to print right to the edge, and so it does work to keep things within this grid space. Now, up here you've got a little cogwheel, and that's your print setup, and if you click that, you'll be able to pick your printer by clicking Printer. Mine's a HP Envy. And then you've got Properties, that's for things like your ink and stuff. But for now, I want to look at this one here, Print Marks, Corner crop marks. Check that and then close. Now, this at the top here is the image where you put it all on an A4 page, and if you drag that over onto here, it's going to tell you it won't fit, and that's because it's saying that the whole image is outside this grid area. We won't scale it, because if we do, that means your cards aren't going to be the size that you expect again, so you don't want to click yes, so we'll click no. And then here are some buttons that make organising images quick. We can click this one that says Centre Image. And you can see that these do fit where we want them. They will be within the grid because this white around the edge doesn't matter. To see what that looks like quickly, I just want to go back to this cogwheel print setup. And there we go. It drops in the image that we've got on there, and I hope you can see a bit clearly. If I can on the video, I'll zoom in, but it's like little crop marks on the corner here. Can you see? A little line there and a little line at the bottom. It's not giving you crop marks for each of the individual images because this is all one image, so that still doesn't help you if you want to try and cut an image that's white on white and get the right size. So while you've done a good job of putting everything on one page, it won't help you unless you're really good at measuring once you've printed something. Let's close that. We can remove that by clicking this Remove from Layout. Now let's do it this way by adding these individual cards straight from the way that they were loaded into PaintShop Pro. And we can just drag them across and then rearrange them to fit as many of them on this paper as possible. So for instance, we might turn that one left, so we use this rotate left, and I might keep it within the bounds of the grid. I can move this one up, I can move that one up, and move this one up. So I've still made relatively good use of my available space. Now if we go back to this cogwheel print setup, you'll see, hopefully, and I'll try again to master the zoom on the video, we've got little lines at the corner of every individual image, and that's going to make it a lot easier for you if you're using a paper trimmer to cut out any images that don't have a clear defined colour. So that's the quick way. If you've downloaded free printables or any of the Project Live kits or any other little digital downloads that you want to print at a certain size and that are already at the right size, just load them individually into PaintShop Pro, pick your paper size and add them like this and fill your page, keeping within the grid lines, and you'll be good to go. Then you can just click print. So we know now that anything that's created at 300 pixels per inch, we can load straight into PaintShop Pro and line up on an A4 page, and we'll get the true size that it says it is. Now let's talk about what you see on your screen being the same as what you're going to see on the paper. You remember earlier I was talking about when we were looking at our examples, I said we're viewing them at 24%. And here at the moment I've opened again this Project Life card, and it says at the top there that it's being viewed at 71%. And logically you might think, well, surely I need to look at it at 100%. That's what it's going to be when it's printed. Well, no, actually it isn't. If I click 100, oh no, let's do actual size. You'd think this, when it says actual size, that means that that's what you're going to see on your paper. And this is where PaintShop Pro is a little bit awkward. No, it doesn't. I have an old copy of Photoshop, and I do know that that has an option called print size, and that is that what you see on the screen is what you're going to get when you print. But for PaintShop Pro we haven't got that, and you have to work it out for yourself. And I worked it out a few years ago, and I also wrote a blog post about it a few years ago on an older blog, and I searched out the photographs that I took of it because I can't actually show you how I did it at the moment, mainly because I actually can't reach my screen and I haven't got an assistant here. So let's talk about how do you get from this on your screen so that you know that it's going to look the same on paper. Well, the key, let me go back to doing this actual size. The key is actually in the measurements. You've got your rulers on, they're still at an inch measurement, and if you look at the distance between the numbers of the 1, the 2, the 3 and the 4 here at the top, that's no way looking like an inch on a ruler that you would have in front of you, is it? And that's the thing. This inch on your screen needs to measure the same as an inch on a physical ruler. Now, if I minimise this, let me show you quickly a couple of photos that I took at the time when I was writing the blog post. I, at the time, made an inch square on my screen and managed to get my ruler at the bottom of my screen with a magnet. I didn't do it myself. I think at this time it was my lovely mum who was giving me a hand. And you can see here that I've got the ruler and I'm trying to line up that inch on my screen so that it matches the inch on the ruler. Now, the easiest way that you can do this without having to go to all this palaver is if you go and get a ruler, hold it up to your screen near your ruler on your image, your digital ruler on the image, and use the zoom buttons, or just do it individually, until the inch gap matches the inch gap on your ruler. It will be anywhere between 30 to 33%. And I'm going to prove that it works. This is another image that I took. I'd got 3 images, an inch square, a 1 by 2 inch square and a 2 inches square. This was at 33% on my old monitor, actually. I've got a new monitor since then, as it says there. And I printed it out and got my lovely mum to hold it up at the side while I tried to take a photograph. I know it's not brilliant, but you can see that what is on my screen matches what is on my paper. And then at the bottom, as an example, I also did it with text, because one of the other things that you might find is that you're looking at something at 100%. Your text, when you're typing it in, looks absolutely huge. So you make it really small because, of course, you can see it on the screen. But then when you come to print it, you can't see it at all. So down here on this paper, you can see that we've got examples of 14 point, 12 point, 10.9 and 8. And you can see that really, when it comes to being able to read something, you don't really want to be going too low in point size. So here's the trick. Always, always, always view your images, especially if you're using text, at a not at a resolution. Come on, Jane, you're getting yourself confused. At a view of between 30 and 33%. However, if you've got a really great monitor that does high definition, that might be different. But the easiest thing is to match an inch on a physical ruler held up to your screen with an inch on this digital ruler here. And if you remember what that zoom view number is, you can always nip to it and make sure that everything you're seeing on your screen is what you're going to see when it's printed. So that means for this project life card, you don't want to be looking at it at 100%, you want to look at it at 30 or as near as damn it. See, that's a much better size. That is what it will look like when it's printed. So, to recap, your new document resolution needs to be 300 pixels per inch. Downloads that you get from the internet or digital kits will always be created at 300 pixels per inch, and so will be true to size. You shouldn't really have to mess with them unless you want to resize them, and we'll talk about that shortly. To make sure that what you see on your paper is what you see when it is printed, find out your zoom view percentage of how an inch on your screen measures up to an inch on your physical ruler. If you do that, I promise you, you really can't go wrong. It will make your text easier, it will make anything you're doing easier. Everything will turn out at the size that you actually want. So far we've talked about digital downloads that are created at 300 pixels per inch, and we've worked out how to make sure we get them at the size that we want. However, for photographs it's a little bit more tricky and you do need to do some extra steps. Digital cameras and the cameras on our phones save photographs at 72 pixels per inch, which, as you can see, is nowhere near the 300 pixels per inch that we need. How do you know what the resolution is of photographs, or indeed any digital downloads if you want to check? Well, let's start with this Project Life card again. Go to Image and Resize. If you don't see this extra box here, you need to check this Advanced Settings box. See? We don't need it just at the moment, but we will do shortly. It's this number here that you need to look at, resolution, and now here it's saying 118.11, and that's because for some reason PNG files always come up as pixels per centimetre, but if I change this to inches, you'll see it's 300 pixels per inch, and the actual image size is just over 6 by 3.9, and it's because it's got just a little bit of space around it. But the actual physical image within is the 6 by 4. So you can see that. Oh, and I should have mentioned, look, you need to look across, you need to check this one here by print size. If you want to resize this, you need to make sure you've got resample using checked, and then you can say take it down to 3 inches high, or maybe you want to go to 2 inches high. And you can type in any number here that you like. You want 1.5 inches, for example. And if you make sure resize all layers and lock aspect ratio is the same, you can do that. And now it's 2.5 inches wide. And then, because you've resized it, it's zoomed to 100% here. So you need to go to your 30 to see what it'll look like, and that's how big it is. Right, so let's undo that for now. Take this back down to 30. So the difficulty with photographs, like I've said, is that your camera has probably saved them at 72 pixels per inch. One thing I ought to tell you, and I made this mistake years and years and years ago, always have your camera and the one on your phone set to save the maximum number of pixels it can. Don't save the smallest photograph thinking you're saving space, because what happens is this. Here's a very old photograph of me from about 2000. I took this with one of the, well, I don't know if it was taken with a digital camera actually. I think I scanned this, and it scanned at the 72 pixels per inch, and then I got slap happy cropping and making it a size that I thought I wanted. So let's have a look at what actual size this is. If I go to image resize, you can see it's still at 72 pixels per inch because I didn't know any better. And if you just uncheck and check this, the numbers here then will match. It's 2.5 inches wide because I thought, hey, that's wide enough, I don't need a big picture, and just under 5 inches high. And I thought, hey, that's great, that's super, that, you know, I don't need great pictures taking up all my hard drive. Yeah, silly me. If we uncheck the resample, I can type into this box 300, because that's what I want if I want to print it. And look now at what size that photograph will be when I print it. 0.6 inches wide by 1.1 inch wide, high. It's barely bigger than a postage stamp. And that's all because I cropped it while it was still at this 72 pixels per inch instead of changing the resolution beforehand. So if I actually click OK on that to change the resolution, and then if we take that down to the 30% view, look at it. It's ridiculous, isn't it? It's absolutely tiny. It's neither use nor ornament. Not only that, but I took it because I wanted to be able to see the cross stitch that I'd finished, and well, really, you're not going to see it at all, are you? So let's close that one out of the way. So you want to make sure that your camera is saving your images at the maximum number of pixels, because when you change the resolution of your photos to the 300 pixels per inch, if you haven't saved enough pixels, it's going to be tiny, just like that picture of me. Let's use this photograph of my lovely mum from last month, showing me her knitting technique. I haven't edited this at all, and you can see with my inch measurements across the top, it's telling me that it's over 70 inches wide by 40 inches high. And that's because this is still at 72 pixels per inch, and I've made sure that it's big enough that I can make any sized photograph that I want, and I haven't cropped it to within an inch of its life. So again, you've got your image, you've pulled it off your camera, and you want it to be matching the stuff that perhaps you're going to be using for Project Life. Maybe you're making albums, maybe you just want to print a 6x4 photograph to give to somebody. So you want to work it at 300 pixels per inch. So you go to Image, Resize, make sure this resample is unchecked, and type in your required resolution. I'm afraid there's no, well, there is a quick way to do this. You can do it with a script, but that's for another day. For now, you're going to have to do them all individually. So when I type in 300, you'll see that now my photograph is a much more manageable 10 inches high, and it's still 18 inches wide because my camera phone, or phone on my camera, I never know which way I should call that, takes very widescreen images, so it's still 18 inches wide, but you know, that's fine, that's okay. Then you can click this resample again, and let's decide that we want to do this photo of Mum as a 6x4. Now, looking at the image, if I move this over, I'm thinking, well, I'm not really going to want to crop anything off the top and bottom because her face is sort of already missing a little. So I'm going to be taking room off the side, and so therefore I know I want the height to be 4 inches, so I'm going to take it down to 4 inches. And it's still 7 wide, but that's okay because we can fix that next. So click OK. If you want, you can go out to your 30%. So there we go. We know that that is now 4 inches high. So it's the same as that project life card. And now we need to do the size the other way. And for that we can use the crop tool, and it's this one. And that gives us a box. And we know we want it to be 6 inches wide. And we know we want it 4 inches high because it's already 4 inches. Now, because the box has put itself at the bottom, it won't let you make it 4 inches. So just move it to the top, click 4, and it's set itself properly. And we can now move this to crop whichever bit of the photo at the side out we wish. So let's do that and click apply. And then if I click the hand, go back to my zoom tool, and go out to 30%, you can see that now my photograph is matching the same size as the project life card, and I know it's 6 by 4 inches. There is one thing I should have told you before I carried on with all that. Always save an original copy of your photo without it being cropped, because sometimes you want to crop different areas of photos. So after you've changed the resolution to 300 pixels per inch, you could save that photograph and use a new one, a new copy, to use for cropping. And to do a quick way of doing that is to do Window, Duplicate, and then I could close this one without having saved any of the changes. Yes, I'll lose the resolution, but that's better than nothing because it keeps the original photo intact. So if I click no, and then I can save this one that I've cropped with a new name. So if we go to print layout now, file, print layout. So now if we put in our project life card and our photograph, you know that they're going to be the size that you want. And if you remember, if we click that cog, you'll get these little crop marks so that you can trim them exactly. This was supposed to be a quick video on how to make sure your images and photographs print properly. It's probably turned out a little bit longer than that, but as I said, it's not an easy subject to understand. However, if you follow the tips and tricks that I've shown you today, I promise you, you really shouldn't have any trouble with things not being the size that you expect. So, to recap, what do? You set your default resolution to 300 pixels per inch in the file preferences. You put your rulers on and you use either centimetres or inches, it doesn't matter which, but make sure that the inches or centimetres match what you see on a physical ruler held up to your screen, so that you can work out what your zoom percentage is for a print view. Then, whenever you're doing anything, putting things onto a page, always look at it at that zoom view, that print view that you've worked out for your monitor, and you'll know that what you see in front of you is what you'll get when you print. Well, I hope that's helped. If you've got any questions, leave a comment below and I'll try and answer them. And until next time, take care.